Hey Ross the Wars, it's Nathan again here from Stellenbosch Saints with our favourites, Mike from the Legion and Ross from his Unicorns. Just obviously we needed to throw this in the mixer. Obviously, it's been a pretty eventful free agency frenzy the last three days, and things are changing so quickly. And we've obviously got all our computers set up, and Twitter's being refreshed every 2 seconds, waiting for Deshaun Watson to make his announcement. But we thought we'd give a bit of a summary. Obviously, the last episode we spoke about the franchise tags and how that sort of affected their teams. But we'll probably get straight into it. I think it was announced pretty much. We gave Brady the okay once we dropped the episode to make his announcement. And he obviously announced his unretirement, that he's coming back. He's running it back. And I think everyone's eyes were raised and we were thinking, well, what's going to happen here? The Bucks are in such a situation. But Mike, what was your first reaction to when Brady made the announcement?
It wasn't much of a shock. I always in the back of my mind had him coming back. I don't know why. Maybe not this season, but he was always going to have back for one last go at it again. The guy's a winner. He wants to go out winning. If he goes out, he wants the Super Bowl, his next Super Bowl ring. He wants to go off winning. So I think that's where he is really, and I think that's the motivation he has. He's never been he's made a lot of money out of the game, but it's more about winning rings. So I think it was inevitable.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I think he obviously he made the retirement. Look, he's achieved everything, and I think that's sort of the risk with these Uber sportsmen. And I think obviously it engrosses their life. It totally takes over their training regimes. They are absolute robotic freaks in terms of what they can achieve. And then to just suddenly one day decide, okay, I'm retiring, I'm moving on, I'm switching off. Most retirements are done due to sort of old age, injuries, maybe even getting cut or missing contracts. This guy missed out on another playoff run by fractions. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And he walked out almost sort of nudged, and maybe it was a case of, I've got a little bit of a conspiracy theory. I'm convinced that he wanted to go to San Francisco 49ers. I'm convinced he knocked on the doors and he said, I'm out. If you're not going to trade me, I'm retiring. And he went and he retired. Sort of the Bucks, Arians, the Glazers, all the guys holding the cards there. They said, cool, we call your hand. You can go retire, go enjoy your time. He had his 2 months with Giselle and he absolutely lost his head. And he said, no, I can't do this anymore. I have to come back. And he had no choice but to come back to the Bucks. Ross, what were your first reactions to Brady's announcement?
I was pretty shocked, to be honest. Because I was shocked that he retired in the first place, because I thought, like, well, he lost the wild card. Like, it's a bit of a strange way to go out your illustrious career. But yeah, and then it sort of came out of nowhere, didn't it? But the timing happened for a reason, because it was just before, obviously, free agency.
Yeah.
And the knock-on effect, which we're going to talk about, was a big knock-on effect. But yeah, he was at the Manchester United game the day before. He was obviously talking to the Glazers then, getting in the rear saying, I'm coming back.
No, I think, look, when the announcement was made, I think, as you say, the world was slightly shocked. Some people had their speculations, but I think at the end of the day, you understand that he wasn't playing subpar, maybe subpar to his GOAT standards, but this guy is in a conference. He's in the NFC South that I'm familiar with. He could run through that conference. I think, obviously, the new announcements with Deshaun Watson potentially coming to the NFC South, and we'll get onto that in a bit. But he's in a pretty weak conference. There's a great chance the Bucks, with the people that they've kept together, should win that conference. They should get to the playoffs. And Brady in the playoffs, you can't count against him. He wins 80% of those games. What were your sort of reactions, Ross, to how the Bucks coped with the rest of free agency in the last 3 days, on top of the Brady announcement?
I think they've done brilliantly, to be honest. I thought maybe part of the reason Brady retired in the first place was that he's seen the writing on the wall and that they couldn't keep it together for a third year, because obviously after the Super Bowl, they brought everyone back. But they've done a really good job. They tagged Godwin, and now he's got a long-term deal. I thought that would mean that they'd lose Carlton Davis, but he's back, key piece in the defence. Obviously, the centre, Jensen, that's an absolute key for Brady, is always having his centre interior protection. And even the guys that they've went and signed outside, I'm just running through everyone. Russell Gage, I think that's a really good signing. So I think down the line, you saw where the Bucks struggled with a little bit with injuries, and they're thrown to Tyler Johnson and Cyril Grayson. Now, Cyril Grayson made one good play, but when they're thrown to Tyler Johnson in the middle, it just wasn't the same. But Russell Gage, I think, gives them a really strong third receiver, who would be a really good 2 on any other team. So I think that's a really good deal for me. And the other part is that they traded for Shaq Mason, the guard, who by all accounts says he's young.
Brady's buddy, yeah.
Yeah, he's young and he's still good. I don't watch much offensive guard play, to be honest, but everyone says he's still playing really well. So that's just crazy move by the Patriots. But again, Brady benefits just by being Brady.
No, absolutely. Look, guys, I think for a change here, we've obviously filming this relatively live and trying to sort of bounce ideas across here for you guys in Roster Wars. But I've got the Twitter right next to me sort of blowing up because I've seen 2 minutes ago, Allen Robinson has been confirmed to the LA Rams. LA Rams, Tom Pelissero, Mike Randall, Allen Robinson, your favorite Bear. He finally gets released.
A-Rob, yes.
What is your immediate reaction, Allen Robinson, to the Rams?
I think it's good for Robinson. I think, the way Stafford plays, it'll help him get wide. I don't know what this means for OBJ, though.
That was my first, exactly. That was my first sort of reaction. I thought, this is writing on the wall. This is OBJ out of there, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think as far as Robinson goes, this is me, looking at some of his previous quarterbacks he's had over the last, his entire career, I suppose. If Stafford plays like he did last year, his figures should be crazy good. I mean, he 1,000-yard season with some of the quarterbacks he's had, like Mitch Trubisky over the years. The guy's got a lot of talent. So, what's the price on that? We don't know what the numbers are for.
No, the numbers haven't come out yet. It was just sort of a dropping from Pelissero. Ross, what is your sort of immediate reaction to that? To A-Rob to the Rams?
I love it. Absolutely love it. Robinson's been one of my favourite players. I think coming out of college, I was really hoping the Jets could get him, but he's been like Mike said, he's been so consistently good, apart from maybe last year, on bad teams with terrible quarterbacks. So this is just him now finally getting to decide where he wants to go, and he's chosen a good offense with a great quarterback, and he'll just slot in and replace OBJ as the wide receiver too. Obviously different roles, but I think he can do everything, and he's such a good player. I'm so happy to see him somewhere productive. And in terms of fantasy value, I think this is probably, without going somewhere as a wide receiver 1, I think this is probably the best situation you can see him in. Robert Woods is there as well, so he's maybe the 2A, 2B with Robert Woods. Since Cup's the number 1.
Do you think Bobby Trees will come back from his injury relatively well? He's obviously a slightly older receiver. Maybe there are a few questions there. And the same with OBJ. Look, the OBJ's, it's easy to assume you cut him. This is the end of his contract. And I don't have Robert Woods' contract in front of me, but from what I understand, he's not a free agent. He's still in the team next year. There's obviously going to be a bit of a share here. And do you think, sorry, I'm asking quite a few questions just firing across here, but sort of Bobby Trees, do you think he recovers injury-wise? And secondly, how do you think this affects Cooper Kupp's stock? Do you think it might soften how good Cooper Kupp is?
Robert Woods is contracted for another few years. And I think OBJ, the injury, I don't know when he'll be back, but I don't think it's anywhere near like week 1. I think it's quite deep into the season if he was to come back. As far as Robert Woods' injury goes, I just assume everyone's going to be 100% healthy. There's not been that many injuries recently where I think a player is significantly worsened. It could be wrong, but I feel like technology these days, medical technology, is so good that people come back to almost 100%. So as a fantasy owner, I don't think I can really consider that. But in terms of Cooper Kupp, I think this season was always going to be difficult to repeat. He was so good. He got so many targets, and it's sort of like you can't do that again. So he's always going to regress, and I think he will. But I still think he's going to be the number 1 target there. He's obviously got the great relationship with Matthew Stafford built up over the season.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
I'm just looking here. At Woods' contract. He's under contract to 2015.
Okay,
But
2025.
his cap hit this year is 12.1 million, so like 15.7. So it decreases. So at least a couple more years out of what I thought on that contract.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll see how he recovers. Anyway, look, there's a lot to get through here on free agency, and a lot is actually firing through because the next announcement, and this is totally off what we were planning on talking about, or we were covering a few others, but let's just go with the flow and see what's live here. We have just been rocked as well. Tom Pelissero on Twitter, quarterback Baker Mayfield has requested a trade. This is not surprising at all, Ross?
No, absolutely not. After his message on Twitter the other day,
goodbye speech.
Where he's not even he's still on the team. The team hadn't decided if he was getting traded or cut or whatever. It really rubbed me the wrong way. But I've never really liked Baker Mayfield, but I'll try not let that cloud my judgment. But I think he's probably within his rights to request a trade. The Browns haven't stuck by him and given him like a contract extension. They obviously don't believe in him long term. Just even before the situation with Watson, like they didn't give him a contract extension after he took him to the playoffs, and he didn't give him. Obviously, they picked up his 5th-year option. So, yeah, I don't know who's going to be interested in him. Colts maybe. Who else needs a quarterback? Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if Seattle, I don't know if he's a Pete Carroll type player, who knows? But yeah, even as you say, I think the Colts is the most obvious off the top of your head. But this could be I think this is also not going to be pretty because there's a guy that I follow on Twitter here as well. And sorry, I'm basically becoming a sales manager rep here for Twitter, but Jake Trotter. And I'll read his little bio here. So he's a verified source, Tyler. In case you start complaining, he's fully verified. He's got his blue tick. I cover the Cleveland Browns for ESPN, Drake Trotter, and he has just said the Browns have told Baker Mayfield's camp they are not accommodating his request. So they will not trade him or not try trade him. Look, that's obviously either clearly rubbish because they've just tried to find a replacement for him. But if they do not trade him and if they sort of hold him hostage, is he a holdout candidate here, Mike? Do you think he would hold out? Is that something we could be in for this season?
I don't think he would. I think looking at who they've added this year, Amari Cooper, I think he'd be silly to hold out. I think he's better off playing and showing what he can do with likes of Amari Cooper. I know he had OBJ recently, but I think he's annoyed. He's obviously made his statement, which was basically "Good night, Cleveland, I'm out of here." But I don't think he's got enough prowess of previous career to sort of go, "Look, I'm just going to take a year out. I'm not going to play." When Le'Veon Bell did it, he was top of his career. He was flying. He wanted 2 contracts. He wanted to be a wide receiver and a running back at the same time. So,
and that worked out well for him. But
yeah. He still made some cash out of it. So I'm sure he's quite happy with the bank balance. But yeah, I can't see him holding out. I can see obviously not being very pretty. Looking at obviously the franchises normally have the power. He's got 1 year.
But as you say, he's probably going to end up playing for his role because, as you say, it's not like his 2021 season blew anyone away. If anything, it probably dropped his stock, and hence they haven't given him a contract, and hence the Browns are looking for another quarterback. So
that's probably why he's asked for a trade. That's probably one of the reasons he's gone going. Look, Mahomes is getting paid $50 million a season.
Yeah,
it's Aaron Rodgers is I should be up in those, which is obviously he's not performed that way, but.
Yeah, well, it's possibly a situation with him and his agent where they're saying, look, we need to save your career here a little bit. We need to try to take this into our own hands. So let's paint you as this nice guy, basically saying, thank you, Cleveland fans. I've done everything I can for you. But obviously the franchise is mugging me off here and sort of throwing me to the wolves. But at the same time, he's wanting out. He's sort of standing up for himself. I'm sure all the victims out there will sort of back him. But I don't know. I think it's going to be quite difficult. Ross, do you have any sort of last thoughts on this Mayfield news and the dynamics behind it?
Yeah, Mayfield, I don't think he's going to hold out because if he wants to drive this narrative of I was hurt last season, I played through hurt, I'm so tough, I'm a big boy, then he needs to play just when he gets his feelings hurt. Like, he can't just not play because his feelings are hurt that the Browns are trying to upgrade and trying to win more games than they would if they had Mayfield. That's plain. But I think the Browns are also saying this, and obviously saying publicly that they're not accepting his trade request because they fumbled initially by not maybe speaking to him and telling him they're going after Watson, and they're probably out the Watson sweepstakes now, and they're realizing, right, we now actually need a quarterback. So what's their alternative? Is they trade away Baker and trade for Jimmy?
Yeah, get Jimmy G in.
It's much of a muchness, and I probably prefer Baker. As much as I don't like him, I probably prefer him.
And Jimmy G is more expensive. Jimmy G is more expensive this year as well, right? So exactly. you're not going to get any value by you're not going up a tier on quarterbacks. Just you're in the same sort of level without actually gaining anything, but it's going to cost you an extra $20 million a season or whatever the differential is.
And what about the forgotten man? What about Marcus Mariota? Where's he now?
He's currently sunbathing somewhere, isn't he? He's been linked with pretty much everybody so far, hasn't he? But then everyone's sort of filling the gaps in. I don't think Seattle's out of the question for him, really. I think
for Mariota.
Pete Carroll, Pete Carroll might. He's not bad with his feet. He's not bad with his arm. You know, they've traded away and got a few picks. He's a free agent, so they can bring him in for a 1 or 2 year contract. Let's see how he progresses.
Yeah, it clearly looks like, and this is coming back to Deshaun Watson. I think Deshaun Watson is this domino that everyone's waiting to fall, and where he ends up going, whether it's Atlanta and then Matty Ryan goes somewhere, Matty Ice could end up on the Colts, or whether he go and then maybe the Saints re-sign Jameis, or maybe he does come to the Saints. Well, then that frees up Jameis, and then Jameis can become probably one of the most easiest free agents sought after. He could fit into any role. He could go to the Colts. He could, who knows, even end up at the Falcons, depending on what the situation is. But
we are forgetting one of the best quarterbacks on the market at the moment.
Fire away.
The Red Rifle.
Oh man, the Red Rifle. He's
just popped into my head. Didn't I mention him at all?
Is he up there as one of, if not the greatest, Chicago Bear quarterback of all time?
He can't be far behind. I mean, obviously, you know, we've had a quarterback winning, Super Bowl winning quarterback and Jay Cutler, so he can't be too far behind those two. But
oh man,
that was an eyebrow raiser this time last year when we signed him for big bucks. But anyway,
yeah, look, it worked out for you guys. Look, you guys needed to buy Fields some time, and if we're all brutally honest, although Fields showed signs of good leg work and very good raw talent. I still feel Fields could have done with benching a little bit more. I think the Rifle should have played a little bit longer in the season. But anyway, that's a conversation for later in the time. Let's get back to these free agents. So let's go back to where we initially wanted to start. Oh yes, go ahead.
Before we jump on, I've just read Allen Robinson, 3 years, $46.5 million.
How much guarantee did it say?
Doesn't say on that, but he's obviously too cheap for the Jags.
But 3 years, 46. So what's that? My quick maths puts that at about 15 million a year. So he's just a poor man's Christian Kirk. What's going on here? As good as Christian Kirk.
No good as Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk's much better, obviously.
Well, let's use this to sort of leverage ourselves. Come on, the Jags, the big high flying Jags. What are they getting up to? What are the Ross? What are the Jags achieving this year? Oh, Ross is off. He's done. He's had one. No, I'm teasing. Mike, what is happening with the Jags? Where do you think they go from this?
Well, the Jags probably need to go get a big loan. So I read this morning that they've just spent on free agency $259.5 million, of which $155 million is guaranteed. So Jesus. They've signed some players. I don't know how you. I don't know if you. I like Ingram. I think that's the good. I think Kirk's overpriced personally.
Look, if you run through the list here, they got Zay Jones, 3 years, 24 million. Christian Kirk, 4 years, 72 million. Evan Ingram, 1 year, and I think he was close to 10 million. They obviously
I think I read $9 million.
They used their franchise tag, so they used that on Cam Robinson, the offensive tackle, which is actually probably arguably the one brilliant bit of business they did do. The rest is good. Look, the rest is good in terms of depth. Like they've gone in an offensive line. Brandon Scherf, although he's a Pro Bowler, let's see, I think he's had a few injuries, but he's getting paid a lot of money. The offensive line, they got some Tyler Shatley. I don't know him too well, but your boy, Fatu Kassi, he's an old Jet, isn't he, Roscoe? You can tell us a bit more about him, can't you?
Yeah, he's a run defender. That's all he is.
Yeah,
and he's getting paid like $10 million a year. The reason the Jets didn't retain him, Jags are just paying so much more over the odds for everyone, and that's the Jags tax. That's what it takes to get people to go there, because they're the worst team in the NFL consistently. And I think you say how much they've spent there, Mike. What do they have to show for it? Like, you just ran through the players there. The big ticket guys are Scherf, who's old and injured, and he could still be good, but at the same time, like, how's this going to change your franchise? Like, if you look at the receivers, the amount of money they've spent on them, they're still going to need to draft another one, I think, to make Trevor Lawrence's life a lot easier, because Zay Jones just isn't going to do it on the outside.
The biggest blessing in disguise for the Jags, and this is not a free agency thing, is they're in the AFC South. So the biggest reality is they're in a league with the Texans, who we have no idea what they're doing. They're also playing the Colts, which is a loaded team with no one running the show here, no quarterback. And obviously the Titans, who are becoming quite an old, injury-prone, although elite team. They one or two injuries away from sort of fading into the darkness of it. And I think look, the Jags need to be aggressive, and I'll just sidestep slightly here. So the owner there, Old Khan, in case you American roster war people, I know you don't follow the round ball football that we call football in this country. I know you call it soccer, but Khan also owns Fulham Football Club, and Fulham Football Club, which is a stone's throw away from where I live here. Well, it's probably a bit further than that. It's about 10 miles away, but they are in the process of dominating the second division, which is called the Sky Championship, in terms of it's the league below the English Premier League, which I think you guys refer to as the EPL in America, and they in the process of getting promoted, which is good for him. And obviously he's just getting the itch and he wants to pay these players, but this is reckless ownership. This is not thought out. This is no planning here. This is panic, isn't it? What do you think?
The recklessness comes from not firing Trent Baalke. So it goes back to there, because when they were trying to find a coach, obviously people turned them down. Byron Leftwich specifically said, like, I don't want Trent Baalke, I want this guy as GM. So they've put their weight behind Baalke. Now he's waiting to spend all this money, like you said, recklessly, and he's going to get fired next season. They're going to be stuck with some of these contracts, and they're going to be in the same position they are in the bottom half of the NFL at the very best.
Yeah, no, I think it's look, as I said at the start, I think the blessing in disguise is they're in a relatively weak conference, so they could maybe get away with this. They've got a rookie generational talent quarterback. We are yet to see. Look, he obviously did need a lot of help in terms of his offensive line. The defense do have some players there, so there is. And don't misunderstand this. I think there is huge talent in the Jags. It just looks a bit wayward at the moment. And I think they've missed a lot, and they've had to pay premium on players that would prefer to just go anywhere else other than the Jags. So look, let's see. Christian Kirk might be the next big thing. Look at Cooper Kupp. It took a while for him to get going. And I'm not trying to say Christian Kirk is the next Cooper Kupp. I'm just saying that there are diamonds in the rough. But anyway,
he's third highest paid receiver in the NFL. So he's available for trade from the Latvia Unicorns. Just put out there.
I think he might be the second highest after Julio Jones was recently released.
Oh, there he goes. So he's a second best receiver in the NFL.
His stock is just growing every day.
I'm flicking through the free agency tracker. Robin's just signed, but you've got OBJ, you've got Antonio Brown, technically, Juju Smith.
Cole Beasley just got released.
Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, Valdes Scantling. These guys must be going, well, if he can take 20 million a year home, come sign me. I'll play for 18. Emmanuel Sanders, AJ Green. Some of these guys are older, but there's some talent out there.
You say that, but I think you say that, but the fact of the matter was Christian Kirk was one of the first signings to be announced, and there's no other wide receiver that's hit that yet. I think all these other agents are just not getting paid enough money. Christian Kirk's agent is laughing. He's probably done his deal and he's in the Bahamas soaking it up right now. But yeah, anyway, I think we're wasting way too much time on the Jags. Ross, take us to a different team. We don't want to talk about these useless Jacksonville Duval Nation, whatever they call themselves.
We'll go to a positive. We'll go to a positive. A team that done really well is obviously the Chargers.
Yes.
So I think Mike said it best on the podcast last week. It's an arms race in the AFC West.
Oh,
and
unreal.
the Chargers they're making use of Justin Herbert on rookie contract, and they're trying to improve the defense, which was obviously the biggest issue last season. So they got the top corner on the market, JC Jackson. They got obviously the trade for Khalil Mack, which we talked about last week as well, to pair him up with Bosa. And they strengthened the interior as well. Sebastian Joseph Day, who's familiar with Brandon Staley from his time with the Rams. Yeah. And I think they're really improving key positions. So they're filling their holes, and they've also got a draft pick as well, where they could just take the best player available. And they're going to be competing for the division title. The Chiefs did.
Exactly that. If you go through their team position for position, they don't have any gaping holes anymore. You go quarterback, they've gotten a generational talent who's become a stud. Running back, you've got Austin Eckler, who's explosive, and they've obviously got a few depth players, your Justin Jacksons and your things on the side who are decent depth players. Wide receivers, they're elite. Tight end is maybe the one area that you could say, okay, what's happening there? Jared Cook is quite old. I think they took one of the rookies. I don't know if it was Donald Parham. Is he a tight end?
Parham or Parsons or something. Yeah, he didn't see much game time last year, but I think he got more game as the season went on. So.
Yeah, so you got Parham. Yeah, and then you go through their defense. As you say, they bulked up the defensive line with Joseph Day. They've Khalil Mack now on the edge with Joey Bosa. That on paper, that is the best all-round team in the AFC West. On paper.
Well, it's certainly steps above the Raiders for sure. And I think, obviously with the Broncos stepping up the court, they've had to just keep growing. I think this is where they've probably looked at their neighbours in LA and gone, well, look at that. You have to keep stacking the players up and keep bringing them in.
Yeah, they're learning. They've got a lovely new state-of-the-art Stan Kroenke-built stadium. They're laughing, and as you say, look, the Broncos. If we sort of stay within the AFC West, because it's just becoming such a powerhouse, I think the Broncos have been elite as well in this last 3-4 days. The people that they've brought in, on top of obviously the Wilson trade, they've gone sort of under the radar. They've got a ticking time bomb in Randy Gregory, but the upside of Randy Gregory is massive, I think. And in that league, it's a league of gunslingers and pass rushers. It's going to be an entertaining league to watch throughout the year, that AFC West, and I'm excited. And the 17th of March, we've got a long 6 months here, guys.
It's going to be a while. I think the Broncos have been linked with Everett as well, the tight end from Seattle, who's out of contract as well, because I think him and Wilson started to build a bit more of a rapport up last year. So.
Yeah, and because Albert O is very overrated.
Apparently so. But there's still a lot of guys to find homes as well, like the Honey Badger and Bobby Wagner. There's a lot of people that could end up in some interesting homes. So.
Yeah, Ross. Yeah. The Jets. Tell me what how many more deals can the Jets squeeze in? Yeah, you've gone for the experience. What's your haymaker? What are you looking for?
Well, I think we're the deals are just starting to cut the contract language, starting to be revealed, and so it looks like some deals the Jets have backloaded, so that we've got a little bit more space this season. So there's talk around us going to take a big trade, so maybe Danielle Hunter's out there for the Vikings, or maybe someone else. But I think what we've done, we've been sensible. So
Jordan Whitehead was a great signing.
I really like it. The as much as the money, just the player himself, really good. And you can always tell by the players on the team that he's leaving, what they think of him, and they were all saying, "Oh, you're losing a good one," and they're really sad to see him go. And I think it was the same for tight end CJ Uzoma from the Bengals. Again, solid players, fills positions they need.
Uzoma's got quite a good reputation as sort of on top of a very upside player. He's got quite a good locker room presence from at least everything that I read about him. And I think maybe, look, I don't know, I've supported Arsenal Football Club for a while now, and we've lacked those sort of presence, like those individuals in the locker room sort of revving people up. I don't know, would you say the Jets are similar in terms of the locker room vibe?
Yeah, well, I think we're building that. And because we had such a young roster, it's difficult to have those guys straight away. But I think CJ Mosley is that typical locker room leader. And he's been trying to recruit people, saying like, we're building something, don't just come here for the money. So if we get a few more of those guys, especially on the offense where we're really lacking that, because we've got young receivers and obviously the quarterback's young, not quite ready to be that proper leader. So yeah, it's the part of team building and the part of the NFL that is always unsung and you don't quite see. So I think it's a big part of it as well, and it's been a focus for the Jets as well.
Yeah, I think so. Look, if you look at the Saints, what they've tried to be, I think at times it's been a bit over the top in terms of how we've tried to sort of promote that dressing room sort of locker room camaraderie / team chemistry, and it has been over the top of the New Orleans, but I think that's sort of part and parcel with the city itself. I think New Orleans is a bit of a party hub, or at least the impression. I've never been. It's on the bucket list, and I will definitely get myself there one day. But I feel that it can go one of two ways. You obviously need the professionalism of actually getting it done, like a Brady and sort of what he had instilled when he was at the Patriots and what Bill Belichick had. But at the same time, you do need that upbeat, that sort of positivity, that sort of almost correcting those wrongs, or when the luck's not there, working a bit harder. But I don't know. And any sort of last sort of signing off sort of thoughts there. I know Ross, before we sort of head off, you wanted to get in a few quick words about the mighty Dallas Cowboys, them boys.
Yeah, well, they're not so mighty now, are they? I think they've had a terrible free agency. Like the goal of free agency is to get better, or at least stay the same. You should be getting better in free agency, better in the draft, and then better in the following season, obviously. But Cowboys they've traded away Cooper because they don't have the space for him or whatever it was. They're cutting Lyle Collins, which has just been confirmed today. They're probably going to release him. And then the whole Randy Gregory situation where they thought they'd re-signed him, but then he decided, nah, I'm done, and went to the Broncos. So they've lost 3 key players. They're really good players. And in return, what they've done is they've kept Gallup, who is a good player. Yeah, we'll see how he returns for injury. Schultz, who again is a good player, but that's about it. And they've not really added anything to make up for the loss of those 3 key guys. And are they going to make up that in the draft? Are they going to make up that from players progressing in talent the next year? I don't know. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think as you say, I think some of the contracts that they signed previously, and Zeke is the first and main one that sort of comes to mind, is they've really handcuffed themselves. They've really gone all out to keep, and especially a running back. And I think there are a lot of positions that, look, I think everyone would agree that running backs could arguably, or should arguably, and do maybe arguably deserve a little bit more money. But at the same time, the most tangible job there, it's so competitive. It's so sort of physically beat down. These guys don't last long in the league. And then to go and commit yourself to Zeke, who they could never have predicted it, but his fall off has been quite dramatic in the last season or two. Look, he's still up there as sort of an RB10 in top sort of 10-15 in terms of production. But that's pure volume. That's not upside. That's not being productive. And if anything, he's holding back someone like Tony Pollard, who's been explosive and exciting throughout the last year or two. Mike, do you have any sort of closing thoughts, whether it's the Cowboys, the Bears, any sort of team or signings that stood out?
Having mentioned running backs, obviously the 17 game season seems to have given most of these guys a sort of two running back or committee back
Yeah.
sort of system. The Dolphins are taking it slightly further. They seem to be anyone that's a free agent that has to have running back next to them. They seem to be wanting to sign at the moment. So that's been quite interesting. I'm still waiting for the Bears to sign some exciting offensive linemen. Not that I know many interesting, exciting offensive linemen, but at least to see some progress made on that. There's still, is it Terran Armitage?
Armstead.
Armstead, yeah. He's still on the market, but whether or not he returns to the Saints will be interesting. Obviously, he'll be a good acquisition.
Look, there could be a miracle where we could maybe afford him now, but who knows? Look, Saints keep their whole salary cap up their sleeve and down the road and wherever else they can hide it. And it seems on face value and on sort of social media value, Terran Armstead is waiting to see who we get. If we get a Watson, then maybe he'll stick around for one more year and see what can happen. If we don't, if we get Jameis, maybe he will move on. He deserves to get paid, but he is very injury prone. He hasn't played a lot of games for us. Or he's played, I think, about 60% of the seasons for the last 2-3 years. So yes, you're getting a top 3, 4, 5 tackle in the league, but will he stay on the field enough for you? Who knows? Any last thoughts from either of you guys? It's been a busy, chaotic pod, but I think we've tried to get through as much as possible.
It's certainly free flowing today, isn't it? Twitter guiding us through on certain parts. So. I think it's been an exciting couple of days. I guess we'll start seeing some more of these deals sort of filter out in the next few days now as well, especially like tonight with Robinson. I think
it's interesting because we're sort of waiting, like you said, on something happening. So as soon as Watson lands, then the other dominoes will fall. So I think there's going to be more exciting like day 6 of free agency than there has ever been before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually it's just the depth guys and everyone's gone, but I think there's still quite a lot of guys out there.
No,
definitely. I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think we've summarized day 1, day 2, and a little bit of day 3, but this is going to be an ongoing thing for the next couple of weeks. I think there's so much still to happen. Mike, you listed some of the free agents still out there. The big, obviously, we all sort of agree, the big domino effect here is this Watson trade, and that will end up shaping a lot of what is going to happen in the next week or two in the league. I think it's been a great pod. It's been great to discuss everything with you guys. I'm sure we'll get out another one very soon. For those boys in interrogation, good luck. Keep your head down. For the guys that have made it through, awesome stuff. Bill, welcome. I think it's been an exciting part of the off season. We're going places. The league's getting busy again, and it's a busy time of year. Keep tuned. I think make sure that you don't tweet too much like Kyle Pitts. Let's not give away too much. It's been a good pod, and thanks again, Mike and Ross, for giving up your midweek evenings. I hope you can get a good feed on you, and all you Americans stay busy at work and enjoy the rest of your weekends, guys. Have a good one, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers, guys.
See you guys. See ya.
Cheers.
Bye.